Hello everyone, this is Earth Archives. In today's turbulent world, bank robberies may no longer be too uncommon, but the 5 most audacious bank robberies are still worthy of our understanding of their impact. Before the show starts, please subscribe, share, and turn on the little bell. This will help us grow faster. Without further ado, the show begins. Oh, why do folks fancy holding up banks? Well, it's kinda like asking why a dog chases its tail because it's there, and it's fun, maybe. But really, it boils down to the old saying, that's where the money is. Now, you might have heard that line credited to a slick character named Slick Willie Sutton, a notorious US bank robber. Well, rumor has it, he never actually said that, but boy, does it hit the nail on the head. Banks, with their towering vaults stuffed with crisp bills, shimmering jewels, and all those fancy stock certificates tucked away in safe deposit boxes, have always been like a big, shiny red button for robbers. It's like walking past the ultimate cookie jar. You just want to see if you can sneak a cookie, or a million. So, let's take a whirlwind tour through some absolutely mind-boggling heists that'll have you questioning whether you're living in a movie. These aren't your grandma's, note to the teller, kind of deals. We're diving deep into tales of secret tunnels, kaboom-worthy explosions, the snatch and grab of bank bosses, and using surfboard repair foam, yes, you read that right, to muffle alarms. Makes you think those surf dudes from Point Break were slacking, doesn't it? Let's kick off with 5 of the most jaw-dropping, you've got to be kidding me bank heists that have actually happened. Imagine this. Folks so bent on getting their hands on those stacks of cash, they'd go through the trouble of tunneling underground, without getting a single, "What are you digging?" from nosy neighbors, blasting through walls without a single, that sounded like dynamite, kidnapping folks straight out of their beds, and not for a sleepover, and reaching Hollywood levels of creativity with surfboard foam. All in a day's work, right? The Baker Street Bank Heist. Alright, buckle up for a tale that spins right out of the pages of fiction and smacks into the cold, hard cobblestones of reality. Picture this. Sherlock Holmes, the detective extraordinaire of Arthur Conan Doyle's creation, is knee-deep in the mystery of the Red-Headed League, untangling a plot involving a bank heist through an underground tunnel. Fast forward about 80 years, and you'll find life cheekily winking at art on the very street Doyle imagined Holmes puffing on his pipe. Here's the scoop. It's 1971, the era of flared trousers and mustaches that meant business. A crafty gang of robbers gets this wild idea. They set their sights on the luscious prize of the Lloyd's Bank on Baker Street, London, yes, the very Baker Street that Holmes fictitiously tread upon. And get this, their master plan. To burrow their way to fortune. They rent out a store near the bank, which just so happens to be teeming with safe deposit boxes bursting at the seams with valuables. A stroke of luck, or cunning planning, meant the bank's floor sensors were off, thanks to some roadworks and their pesky false alarms. Under the cover of this ground floor store, these modern-day moles start digging. Imagine him, shoveling away dirt in the dead of night, whispering sweet nothings over walkie-talkies. And it's not just any chatter these walkie-talkies carry. It's the heist planning in all its glory. And who, of all people, stumbles upon their plan but an amateur radio enthusiast named Robert Rowlands. Picture him, headphones clamped on, eyes widening as he realizes he's eavesdropping on a real-life caper. Rowlands does the right thing and rings up the coppers. The bobbies rock up to Lloyd's Bank, check the door, still locked, mind you, and shrug it off. Nothing to see here, folks. Meanwhile, our tunneling bandits are inside, stuffing their bags with what's estimated to be £3 million. That's a hefty $7 million back then, which would make your eyes water with its equivalent of $51 million today. But here's the kicker. In a plot twist Doyle himself might have chuckled at, one of the robbers slips up. Fancy renting the tunnel's starting point under your own name. That, my friends, is how you turn a masterstroke into an epic facepalm moment. Thanks to this blunder, the law catches up, rounding up him and 3 of his mates for a stint behind bars. The United California Bank Heist. Picture this. It's March 24, 1972, and a tale thicker than a Hollywood script unfolds in Laguna Niguel, California. The stage? The United California Bank. The plot catalyst? A juicy tip-off that none other than President Richard Nixon had a cool $30 million in shady campaign funds squirreled away there. And who wouldn't want a piece of that pie? Enter our daring cast, a group of robbers not from the sunny local beachsides but the far-off lands of Ohio. Their mission? To pull off what would become the largest U.S. bank heist of the time, walking away with a not-too-shabby haul of $12 million. Eat Your Heart Out, Ocean's 11. But wait, there's a twist in our story. The rumored origin of this whopping sum was none other than Jimmy Hoffa, the infamous Teamsters titan. Nixon, having commuted Hoffa's sentence back in '71, was the unwitting benefactor of this alleged largesse. At least, that's how the word on the street went. At the helm of our intrepid crew was Armil Dinzio, a man with a vision and apparently, quite the family affair. Alongside his nephew Harry Barber, his brother, brother-in-law, and a couple of other trusty recruits, they set out to make heist history. As Barber put it years later, with a twinkle of mischief and a dash of disdain for Nixon, he couldn't cry to nobody. Who's he going to cry to? He stole it himself. Now that's what you call sticking it to the man. Their method? Nothing short of ingenious. The gang, channeling their inner Mac givers, used surfboard repair foam, of all things, to gum up the bank's alarm system. Then, opting for the dramatic, they blasted a hole through the bank's roof with dynamite. This wasn't a smash and grab. This was an operation. They spent the entire weekend in the vault, like kids in a candy store, only the candy was cold, hard cash. Alas, as with all great tales, the law caught wind. The FBI, not deterred by the heist's cinematic flair, tracked down Dinzio and his merry band. Yet, one piece of the puzzle remains elusive to this day. Was the loot part of Nixon's rumored secret stash? That, my friends, remains a mystery, adding yet another layer of intrigue to a saga already too wild for words. In the end, it seems not even a president's unpopular reputation could shield him from being implicated in a heist tale this rich. In the annals of crime and legend alike, the 1972 United California Bank heist holds a place of dishonorable distinction. The Northern Bank heist. Picture this, it's a chilly Sunday in 2004, just before Christmas, when something straight out of a Hollywood thriller unfolds in the quiet of Northern Ireland. Two bank executives, let's call them Chris and Kevin, employees of the Northern Bank in Belfast, are about to have their worlds turned upside down. Masked robbers didn't just hit the bank directly. They went for something far more chilling. They descended on the homes of our two main characters, making it personal from the get-go. These aren't your run-of-the-mill thieves. They're meticulous, calculating. They take the families of Chris and Kevin hostage, weaving a terrifying narrative. Help us rob the bank, or your loved ones are in deep trouble. Imagine the cold dread settling in their stomachs, the kind of fear that makes your whole world stop. So, under this unthinkable duress, Chris and Kevin do what seems to be the impossible. They head into work the next day, acting as if it's just another mundane Monday, all while carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. Fast forward to closing time. The bank's doors are shut, the lights dim, and it's showtime for our unwilling accomplices. The vault, usually a symbol of security and strength, is flung open, not to fill, but to empty. The robbers abscond with a jaw-dropping £26.5 million, about $42.5 million at the window shopping rate of the time. It's a heist that etches itself into the annals of criminal history, not just for the audacity of the deed, but for the staggering sum that vanished into the night. Then, as if the plot couldn't thicken any further, the fingers start pointing. The cops eye the IRA, the notorious Irish paramilitary group, slapping a label on the heist that sends shockwaves far beyond the immediate crime scene. Discussions around the Northern Ireland peace process, already a tightrope walk, now faced even more tension. It was a blame game that added a political powder keg to an already explosive situation. Yet, here's the kicker: despite the drama, the accusations, and the sheer scale of the heist, justice remains elusive. We're talking 18 years passing by, and not a single soul has been held to account. The robbers, along with their millions, vanished into the ether, leaving behind a tale that sounds too wild to be true. In the end, the Northern Bank robbery isn't just a story about crime. It's a gripping saga of fear, bravery, and the unsolved mysteries that still haunt those Northern Ireland streets. It's a reminder of how truth can sometimes be stranger, and more thrilling, than fiction. The British Bank of the Middle East heist. Picture it, Beirut, 1976. The city is in the throes of the Lebanese civil war, a setting not short of its own dramatic narratives. Amid this backdrop of chaos and uncertainty, a heist unfolds so brazen, so bold, it's like something ripped straight from a blockbuster script. We're talking a heist that the Guinness World Records recognizes as the largest ever theft of safe deposit boxes. Now, if that doesn't pique your interest, what will? The star of this caper. The British Bank of the Middle East in Beirut. The robbers, not ones to shy away from a challenge, decide that the best approach is a big, loud entrance. So, what do? They go full Hollywood and blast through a neighboring wall shared with a Catholic church. You can almost hear the dramatic music swell as they make their way into the bank. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Instead of forcing their way into the vault themselves, they bring in locksmiths. Yes, you heard that right. Locksmiths. These guys are professionals, and they methodically open the vault, paving the way for the culprits to swoop in and grab the loot. And what a haul it was. We're talking somewhere between $20 to $50 million in gold bars, stock certificates, jewelry, and various currencies. It wasn't just a robbery, it was the jackpot of a lifetime. Now, as with any tale worth its salt, there's a twist. The British and US media were abuzz with whispers and allegations connecting the robbers to the Palestine Liberation Organization. But here's the kicker: despite all the finger-pointing and speculation, no one has ever been formally charged for this audacious heist. It's a story that has everything: drama, action, a hint of mystery, and a whole lot of unanswered questions. It's not just a crime. It's a legend, whispered in the winds that blow through the streets of Beirut, a reminder of a time when the city was the backdrop for one of the most daring thefts in history. The Banco Central heist. Well, grab your popcorn and dim the lights, because the tale I'm about to unravel for you is nothing short of a cinematic masterpiece straight out of Fortaleza, Brazil. Picture the scene. It's 2005, and a clever, daring ensemble of bandits are about to embark on what could very well be the grand heist of the century, and it all begins with the not-so-innocent front of an artificial turf company. Yeah, you heard that right. No lush, green, synthetic grass being churned out here. Instead, these masterminds were playing a completely different game. Their goal? To dig. And not just any old hole in the ground. We're talking a tunnel of epic proportions, stretching over 250 feet in a bold, subterranean voyage to the heart of the city's Banco Central bank branch. For 3 months, under the guise of entrepreneurial innocence, this crew toiled away, chiseling their path to fortune. Then, on a weekend that started like any other first weekend in August, bam! They struck gold. Well, not literally gold, but with more than 150 million Brazilian reals in the bag, which was the cool equivalent of around $70 million at the time. Who's counting? The best, or worst, depending on whom you ask, part. The bank employees had no idea they had been hit until the sleepy yawn of Monday morning stretched its arms. But every story, especially one as sticky as this, tends to have its dark twists. Enter Luis Fernando Ribeiro, pegged as the supposed maestro behind this grand orchestration of thievery. Sadly, at the tender age of 26, his tale takes a tragic turn. Only 2 months after the heist, he was kidnapped, a ransom of $890,000 was demanded, and despite his family's hasty compliance, the story closes on a heartbreakingly grim note. Ribeiro's life was cruelly snuffed out, leaving his body abandoned on a road outside Rio de Janeiro. As if ripped straight from a noir film script, whispers and murmurings from the corridors of justice, including some from the New York Times, hint at a chilling possibility that the long arm of the law, or rather, some within Brazil's very own police force, might have had their fingers entangled in the murky waters of Ribeiro's kidnapping and murder.